Tuning up Hubble to the peak of its capabilities would be demanding enough in a lab, let alone in its 366-mile-high orbit. But that's what 4 astronauts working in 2 teams will be doing as they repair existing equipment and add extraordinary new instruments. But they will start with the basics.
It still has the original batteries that it launched with back in 1990. So we're going to go up with new batteries. And we're also going to replace a fine guidance sensor.
But as NBC senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers reports now, based on what's been found so far, those early estimates may have been much too low.
Iraqi expatriate Swawar Kadir says when he tried to buy Iraqi oil 2 years ago, the kickback was actually written into the contract.
It was something that we had in mind, that we were expecting, but not quite so blatantly put on paper.
This contract from the Iraqi oil ministry, obtained by NBC News, includes a 25 to 30 cent a barrel surcharge to be deposited in the Jordan National Bank in Amman. Investigators say it's a kickback. The focus of the investigation, how effective are changes since 9/11 at keeping potential terrorists out of the country? The FBI says it has other systems to find bad actors. But Congressman Chris Shays is outraged that no one automatically checked out these people.
To have a process where we say someone may be a terrorist and then say, don't worry about it because they may not be, makes the whole process a joke.
Some things are difficult to explain away.
The government is investigating the involvement of some of these men in training overseas prior to 9/11 in jihad training camps.
Abdur Rahim said some friends did train overseas, but to help militant Muslims in Kashmir fight India. Also raising suspicions, the men studied under this Islamic scholar, Ali al-Tamimi, whom critics say is radical. He advised them after 9/11 to leave the U.S. and go live in a Muslim country for a while. Some did.
Commercial fishing is considered one of the most hazardous occupations in the country, and there is no type more dangerous than crab fishing in the icy waters of the Bering Sea. The reason? The best season for crab is during the worst weather, and if something goes wrong, a skipper and his crew can find themselves hundreds of miles from help.
Captain Hansen gathers the ship's log and papers. He and the engineer wait in the wheelhouse to make their break. Knowing the waves come in sets, they time their run to the pickup point on the bow. But halfway there, the skipper's foot gets caught in a hole on the icy deck. They never make it.
You hear about it all the time. Children being abused.
He would literally shake with fear.
It's easy to think too little is being done.
What were your fears?
That she would kill him.
Tonight's Dateline is different.
Why didn't you do anything?
Selfishness.
Dateline's mission, a 6-month investigation into the lives of 2 small children.
What happened to him, I would classify as systematic torture.
Who heard a little boy's cry for help.
It was always the mean mommy, Ingrid, that's what he called her.
Why our questions led prosecutors to reopen the case.
The medical examiner in the state of Maryland was asked to re-examine the case based upon Dateline's inquiries into it.
We asked, when it comes to child abuse, does the punishment fit the crime?
There's far too many people who are allowed to abuse children and frankly get away with it.
Tonight, Victoria Corderi with a Dateline special, a report that made a difference, saving Richard.
Tonight, Washington is a ghost town. This is the Memorial Bridge, normally crowded with traffic. Yet the attack has succeeded in shutting down the capital of the United States and left Americans wondering, how could it have happened in this of all cities?
The World Trade Center and Pentagon attacks with hijacked airliners have been called unimaginable, without precedent, and impossible to predict. But were they? Former U.S. Ambassador for Counterterrorism Jerry Bremer says Air France 8969 confirmed what was seen in the earlier plot to blow up the Pan Am flight over Israel.
Which is that The idea of hijacking and flying a commercial airliner into a population center was in the minds of some terrorists.
Do I have pleasant memories of my husband? Of course.
In Washington, Mary Morris, the widow of one of the 2 Washington postal workers who died from inhalation anthrax, told Dateline's Victoria Corderi today that her husband Tom, like the victims of the September 11th attacks, died while trying to do his job, a job that few would have imagined put him on the front lines of the war on terrorism.
Former KGB spy master and retired General Oleg Kalyugin says absolute ruthlessness used to work for the Soviet Union in the Middle East. The KGB responded to thugs and kidnappers in Lebanon by being bigger thugs and, according to some reports, more brutal kidnappers.
Sonny Buchanan, the man shot while mowing the grass for a friend, was a 39-year-old former landscaper and enthusiastic supporter of a charity for underprivileged kids. His sister, Victoria Snyder, a school crossing guard, knew about the shootings from the news. But until the police officer arrived at her door, she had no idea her brother had become a victim.
I was just, I can't even, I just lost it. I didn't.
Here's Chief Consumer Correspondent Lee Thompson with a Dateline Consumer Alert.
But there was something else about the Isuzu Trooper, something the Insurance Institute's engineers didn't see right away. It would turn out to be one of the most potentially dangerous problems ever seen in this crash hall.
Something's ruptured, either the tank or the line.
It was, in fact, the fuel line that ruptured.
So we give them a day and come back, buying one of those same sweaters and the same Anastasia outfit.
Hi, how you doing?
But what a difference a day doesn't make. Both are still scanning at full price. Once again, it's up to a conscientious clerk to override the computer and enter the sale price for each item.
Does it go automatically into it now that you've caught it?
No, it doesn't. You gotta, I've seen it where it's come up all day and we told the managers and so forth, and it doesn't get through.
Roger Smith was the Imperial's CEO, pushing GM into a disastrous investment of $77 billion in new high-tech plants, and no one seriously raised a red flag.
So was it pretty much a rubber stamp board?
Too much. It was too rigid, it was too controlled, there was too little open debate. We weren't challenged adequately.